Welcome to this live presentation titled OPC to Excel. My name is Randy, and I am the presenter today. Once again, this webinar is titled OPC to Excel. We're going to talk about the problem we're trying to solve. I'll explain the solution itself, and then I will show you an Excel connection where I'm reading and writing real-time data. We will also create reports from historical data. I will also show you how to run all of this as a Windows service. Of course, no logon required. At the very end, I will tell you how to get a copy of this webinar recording, where to get these quick setup videos. You can get this thing going on your own, and how to get an invitation to the next webinar. So what are we talking about here? Well, as you know, Excel really is the single most popular analysis tool in automation. It's very widely used and it's very well understood by folks in automation. And why? Because it's easy, very easy to create calculations and reports based on your data. And we see people doing this all the time. Now, the problem we have is how exactly do we get data from a controller, a PLC, DCS, RTU, right into Excel? How exactly do we do that? And that's what this particular webinar is about. So just so you understand, we've got data from controllers, PLCs, whatever, going, and we want to get that data into Excel. Of course, we have OPC servers to do this, but as you know, Excel can't reach OPC servers directly. So we're going to show how OPC Expert enables us to get the data from OPC servers. In this case, we'll have 3 steps. Step number 1 is we will capture the real-time data. Step number 2, we will create the historian. And then step number 3, we will actually produce reports based on real-time and historical data. You may only need one of these two. Maybe you are not interested in real time. Maybe you're only interested in history data, or maybe you're interested in history data, but not in real time. All you need to do is one of these. I'm going to do both in this particular demonstration, so you'll have an idea of what's going on. And again, we're going to show the data right here in Excel. Before I do that, I'll explain what's going on. As far as Excel support goes, you get 32-bit and 64-bit support with Excel 2003 all the way to Excel 2021 Office 365. So pretty much all versions of Excel are supported. You can get this going from Windows XP all the way to Windows 11. And if you're using Windows Server, it would go from Windows 2003 all the way to Windows 2025. So from something very old to something very new. You get communication with OPC UA, that's both DA for real-time data and UA-HA, as well as OPC Classic DA and HDA. You can connect to local and remote OPC servers as well, of course, using DCOM or HTTP, whatever, even MQTT. OPC Expert and these OPC servers can be on the same PC. They can be on a remote PCs, or this OPC server, for example, if you're using OPC UA, can even be directly on this PLC. So OPC Expert and the OPC server do not have to be on the same computer. Also, pay attention here. You notice that there's OPC UA HA and OPC Classic, OPC HDA. What that means is OPC Expert can enable you to get data from a remote or local historian. So if you're using, for example, Pi or any historian out there with a UAHA or an HDA server, you can get that data into Excel. So it doesn't just have to be OPC Expert. You can get it from remote historians as well. All of this can run as a Windows service, which I will show you in just a little bit. As far as reading and writing, all of this is done asynchronously, which means you get report by exception or on data change, subscription. In other words, you don't have to go to the OPC server and keep saying, what's the value? What's the value? What's the value? There's no need to do that whatsoever. OPC Expert does that for you, brings the value right into Excel. So it is event-based. And if you're using code to do this, for example, VBA, you don't actually need to wait in the source code. You have the data immediately as soon as it changes. However, you can also do synchronous reads and writes. This is optional, so you don't have to do this. But sometimes if you're writing code, it's a little bit easier for programmers to use synchronous reading and synchronous writing to get their code working. So if you're using VBA or user-defined functions, UDFs, it's sometimes easier to code, which means that if you're writing a value, you can set your code to write the value, and if there's success, then you move on. But that's synchronous, so you can do synchronous or you can do asynchronous. And again, the synchronous is, of course, optional for you. So let me explain what's inside OPC Expert. So everything I'm showing you here is going to be inside Expert. It's really a white box view into OPC Expert. We begin with OPC DA and UA clients. And these enable you to ingest, to bring data in to OPC Expert's intelligent engine. So the data comes right in here, and you can bring it in via DA or UA. Then the data goes out using Excel's real-time data. So this is what Microsoft uses to bring real-time data into Excel, which is event-based. So report by exception. This is what enables us to do asynchronous data. Very, very efficient. There is no more polling. Say goodbye to DDE. You don't need that anymore. This is much, much, much more efficient and takes far less CPU. This is how you begin. You can bring the data in. But of course, since the data is in here, you can also send it out to OPC DA server or UA server, which means separately you have a different UA client or DA client. You can actually connect to OPC Expert and get this data. This also includes an MQTT broker, which means you can send data out to an MQTT broker, but you can also bring data in via an MQTT broker and out to Excel. So Excel can be used to read data from MQTT brokers as well. There's also a publisher and a subscriber, which again means that if there's a remote broker, you can connect to it with this MQTT subscriber right over here. So you can connect to a remote broker, bring the data in and out to Excel, and you can start reading and writing data and exchange data directly with MQTT. Other ways to bring in a database like Microsoft SQL or MySQL or Azure or Amazon or CSVs, whatever it is you want. And of course, other ways to bring data in, you can connect with HDA, alarms and events, and even send data out using REST API. And we'll have another webinar on this REST API connection right here, which enables you to get data into non-Windows platforms, remote connections, and so on. So it really enables you to get the real-time data and historical data directly from OPC Expert using REST API. All of this that you see here is inside OPC Expert. So all these green boxes over here, the blue, it's all included inside OPC Expert. But in this webinar, we're very specifically concerned with OPC DA client, UA client, and this RTD server. Let's go have a look at it. What we'll do is have a couple of controllers, and data will be coming in from OPC servers, and I'll show you how to set up OPC Expert, what's necessary for that. We'll do three things. Number one is we'll capture the real-time data. Then we're going to take that data, archive it in a historian. So now we have access to historical data. And finally, we're going to be in Excel and actually creating the reports. Steps 1 and 2 are really just a setup to enable us to do task number 3, which is to show this OPC data. Now, to get this going, so there we go. So there's the computer itself, and I'll make it bigger so you can actually see what's going on. And before I begin, I'll show you what's inside OPC Expert in the folder, and there we go. What you see for OPC Expert is it's just one executable. When you download OPC Expert, you get one executable. When you run it, as I just did, OPC Expert extracts all the files it needs and gets going. So there's no installation, there are no changes to Windows Registry. When you're done, you can remove all of the files quite easily, actually. Okay, so here we just started OPC Expert. Now remember, we want to use Excel. So since we want to use Excel, I'm going to tell OPC Expert that I want to use Excel. So we go to Tools, Options, and inside the options, we're going to enable Excel features right over here and click OK. Now I should also get Task Manager up here. Okay, so what we see is OPC Expert. There's System Tray, which is this one right at the bottom, and OPC Expert, which is the GUI right over here. So let's expand this computer, see what we have on this computer, and we immediately see two OPC DA servers and two OPC UA servers. In here, what I'll do is connect to this Modbus OPC server. We'll go to numeric, and I'll just subscribe to a few items just like this. Now, again, there's no limit on the number of items you subscribe to. So we subscribe to some DA servers, and I will connect to this Kepware OPC UA server. Kepware provides OPC UA servers. There we go. And I'll just subscribe to all of these items, and here we go. And as you can see, we have a bunch of items here. So we have some items, got some different data types, and we can see the data coming in, and it's changing every second. All right, now, before, and I already see, okay, some people are asking, can we run this as a service? Because remember, we are capturing the data. Let me just first create the history. So I will right-click this, and I will archive it. So right now we're getting real-time data, and I'm creating an archive. Of course, I can archive in many different places, but I'm going to choose a CSV, a whole bunch of options here to look at, but we'll just click OK and use the defaults. Now everything is going to run in proc. OPC Expert is setting up the archive. You can see we've got 12 items, and they are almost all good. There we go, 100%. So we are good. So all the items here are showing green, and green is good. So we are all good. All right. So now that we have this, let me run this as a service to make sure everybody sees. So we run it as a service. We're going to take OPC Expert UA server, run that as a service. So right here, we're going to see OPC Expert UA server. And you can see that it's setting up and it's running as a system account. Once that's done, we actually no longer need the GUI. We will also take the archive itself, and we will install this one as a service so that if we ever reboot the computer, OPC Expert can get up and run and set up the archive automatically without anybody being logged on. Then when you get into Excel, you can actually retrieve all the historical data that you would have received when no one was logged on. Okay, so right now all of the data is being archived. As you can see, we're getting some real-time data as well. Let's go start Excel. So when we start Excel, and here we go. There's Excel. Just move OPC Expert out of the way a bit. So Excel is coming in, and I will start a blank workbook. I'll resize it so that we can see this better. Here we go. Move it out of the way. And by the way, there is OPC Expert UA server running as a system account, and the archive server, again, running as a system account. This here, OPC Expert, is the GUI you see right over here. All right, so first thing is, let's go get some real-time data. So I'm going to take this, I'll drag it, and just drop it on Excel, just like that. Drag and drop. You can see OPC Expert is immediately the add-in, which you can see over here, attempting to subscribe. And right now, we're going to get data from OPC DA and UA servers. So this data over here is coming from OPC DA servers. You can see memory and ramp and so on. That's memory and ramp. And these ones over here are coming from the Kepware UA server. So what we're getting is data coming in from a UA server and data coming from a DA server. Once it's inside OPC Expert's intelligent engine, as I said, it makes no difference if it's UA or DA. Okay, one of the things people always want to know about is the speed. So right now, all the data is coming in once a second, but that's 1,000 milliseconds. But I can actually make this go faster. So here we go. Now I made it go every 100 milliseconds. So you can see 100, and this is going faster. This one over here is going slower because it's still every second. So here we go. And okay, clicked enter, and you can see 100 milliseconds. So this is faster, right? So everything here is now going faster. So I'll go to this one, for example. I'll make this one go faster too, just like that. So we can very, very easily tell some data to go faster, some data to go slower. And all of this data is coming in real time. All of this is coming in real time. And as you can see, Excel CPU load is very, very low, even though data is coming in quite fast, actually. Okay. So there we go. So now you can see data coming in. How do we write? So I will write here 111. And what I want to do is take this 111 and put that in here, which, by the way, we will see right over here. In OPC Expert, you'll see that once we write. So to do that, all I do is go in here, and at the very end, I add a comma, and the value I want to write. In this case, C2. Enter. And now, there we go. We can see 11. So if I go in here and I say 222, sure. Just like that. And you can see that I wrote the value. If I go over and I say 333, I'm seeing the values. So there are the values, and you can see it's changing. So I can both read data and I can write data. Very, very easy to do. I can change the update rates. I can change so if I want to change the update rate here to 100 milliseconds, for example, I can do that. And if I want to write 444, there we go. And you can see the update appears very, very quickly. So what you're seeing is that I'm able to read data and write data. This is all in real time. So now let me take this. We've seen real-time data reading and writing. And once again, you can do this to both local and remote OPC servers. So to both local and remote OPC servers. Let's go back here. There we go. So here we have our OPC servers. Now let's see how we can get historical data. So here we'll go to the archive where we have some history. And let's go over here in Excel, and we can see there is an OPC menu option. So we can go in here. Now, one thing I forgot to show you is to test the connection, make sure it's okay. I can click status right over here, and you will see some data coming right over here. Now, keep in mind, this came up because I enabled Excel functions. You can see real-time data is functioning properly, historical data is functioning properly, UDFs, everything is functioning properly, OPC Expert is available. We're getting a heartbeat over here, so we know everything is working right. And we see that this is a 64-bit process going on here, not 32. So I'm using 64-bit Excel in this case. Okay, now that I know everything is working okay, I'll take this and I will delete it. And let's go get some history on. So we'll go to history, to the historian. I'll put this on the side right over here. Now I will use the GUI to set this up. So I'll take these values over here. So I'll take these three values right over here. I'll drag them and once again drop them. You see it says drag and drop. Okay, here are the items. This is where they come from. And this is what the table will look like with names on top, the item names on top, the timestamps, and all the values. In this case, by default, we're going to take 1 minute of data from 1 minute ago until the most recent found, which is now. And I will click OK. OPC Expert will immediately grab the data. Here's the data. So this is my local time right here. And you can see that I'm getting all of the data right here. So it came from 7:23, 1 minute ago, until 7:24 right now. If I even take this data right here, so we go to the end, and I'll take this data, let's insert, and we'll make, here's a little trend. Should have put this at the top, but I will now. Here we go. So there's our little trend. And we've got historical data. Now, keep in mind, Excel was not storing this data. And even if I save this, Excel actually stores the query itself. So let me just show you, and I'll show you how to prove that. So for example, instead of this 7:24, I will say equals now, which means the time right now. So this is automatically calculated. And here I will say equals now minus time, 0 hours, 1 minute, and 0 seconds. And here, now, this is actually dynamic. So is this. So if I click F9 on my keyboard, so I just clicked F9, you can see that this is being updated for the time right now. So there we go. And you can see that the values are being updated all the time. And sure enough, you can see that the trend moves. It's easier to see that the data is moving with this trend. Here are the names of the items, and we can, of course, make this look pretty with different colors. I can take this, for example. I can maybe change it, make it maybe a little bit more fun with some nice little surface spot, if that's acceptable here. There we go. So I can update this, can go back to this. Okay. Now that I have this and I've set up my report, boy, the way I like it, this is the best report ever. Now I'll just save it and I will put it on my desktop. So here we go, put it on the desktop. So now it's on the desktop. Now watch this. Remember 7:27 and 27 seconds. 7:27, 27. I will close this. I will even close OPC Expert. And I'm closing OPC Expert, so you see there is nothing else going on here. I will even exit this system tray. So the system tray is now gone. And what you see, the only thing left are the services. So these are running as a service. So when I go back to Excel, remember, Excel is not running. So here comes Excel, and look, 7:27:27, and now it uses the time right now. So if I click F9, obviously this data was not stored in Excel. Again, if I close this, so Excel should be gone. I can't remember if it went away before or not. So there we go. Excel is not archiving data right now. It's clearly not archiving data because it isn't working. I start Excel. Excel is going to use that query to go to the archive server. Remember, I saved it as 727, and boom, there's the new query right here, 7:28 and 40 seconds left, 47 seconds. I can update it again. So here we go. And everything is always updated in real time, very, very quickly. So now I can say queries, for example, start out from midnight until 8 a.m. Show me the last shift. Show me the last week. Show me the average or the minimum or whatever on this data I have. So I can go to either OPC Expert's own historian to this archive server, or I can go to a third party. So for example, if you've got a Remote Pi, or you've got Info Plus 21, or maybe you've got Honeywell's PhD, or maybe an ABB historian from from their DCS or Siemens, Yokogawa, whatever, whatever database you have, OPC Expert can get the data out of it using OPC HDA or OPC UA whichever one your database supports. And there you go. So we've done real-time data and historical. We've got historical data here with reports. So again, if I click F9 on the keyboard, so you can't see it, but I'm clicking F9 just to update this. And sure enough, everything is updating in real time. I'll come back to this during the questions and answers, and you'll see that we have even more data available to us. So let's close this and get back with the presentation. This is the end of the demonstration to show you getting both real-time and historical data. I should really go back here. And you can see we captured real-time data. We were able to do that. We were able to send that to Excel. We were able to create a historian and send the history data to Excel. And of course, we were able to create reports. We were able to read data and write data. And there you go. I'll now get back, sorry, in just a few minutes, I'll get back to the questions you asked me during the webinar itself. But let me just say a few words for the people that pay my bills, and then I'll get back to the questions that you were asking. So to get automated troubleshooting, you can download OPC Rescue for free, or you can get OPC Expert. Now with OPC Expert, of course, you can do everything I've done here. You can trend also, you can bridge, tunnel, and so on. In this particular webinar, we spoke about Excel connectivity as well as OPC UA and OPC Classic connections for both real-time and historical data. So we just took a look at both of those. If you want to learn even more, come to one of our hands-on training courses where you can earn our certified OPC professional designation. You can come to one of our workshops. You will learn how to configure DCOM and OPC UA, how to troubleshoot these OPC systems. You will learn how to properly secure these systems as well, and learn OPC best practices, and of course, earn your certified OPC professional designation. During the class, I should mention, you get 2 computers. You configure them yourself, you troubleshoot them yourself, we break it, and then you fix it, and then you learn how to fix real-time communication problems when it comes to user accounts, when it comes to access control lists, services not starting, and so on. So you learn all of that. These are quite fun. They're interactive. They're very, very interactive classes with a live instructors. With a live instructor, everything is live. It is remote, which means there is no travel. And that's the case for our public classes. Most of our public classes, I should say, are remote. So you come to the class, no travel, and you join along with people from other companies as well. But if you want a class specifically for your company, we do that as well. So we do this private training, either remote, like we do the public classes, or we come to your site. But they're private, they're just for you. And you can take a look at dates at opcti.com. Last slide here, and then I will get back to the questions you asked that I didn't have time to get to. Okay, we're going to send you an email with some links. Number one, a link to this webinar recording. Second, you'll get a link to download OPC Expert. And by the way, you can get the very same version that I showed you right over here. And you'll get a link with examples. Now, you can get that right here, right now, if you want to look at some examples, some short videos on how to get this done. So you can use this QR code. You can go to this specific web page right over here. And you'll also get an invitation to our next webinar, which is on OPC and MQTT. And that will be in the middle of November next month. So about 6 weeks from now, just under. If you have any questions, yes, we do answer the phone, or you can go to our website, opcexpert.com. All right, everyone. This ends the formal part of our presentation on OPC to Excel. I hope you come to our next webinar. And if you'd like to stay a little bit longer, I will answer the questions I couldn't get to during the webinar itself. If you have to go, please do. And I hope to see you at our next webinar.